Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are not strangers. They are the people you trusted with your softest emotions, the people you stayed loyal to even when your own heart was hurting, the people you defended while they were slowly breaking your peace behind your back. And maybe that is why betrayal changes people so deeply, because you were not pretending when you loved them. You gave them your patience, your honesty, your understanding, a heart that genuinely cared. You stayed through their worst moments. You forgave things that quietly damaged your spirit. You kept giving love, hoping one day they would finally value it the same way you did. But instead of protecting your heart, they became comfortable hurting it. And now maybe you feel emotionally exhausted. Maybe you overthink everything at night. Maybe part of you still wonders how someone who once made you feel safe became the reason you no longer feel peaceful inside yourself. But Buddhism teaches something most people never realize. Kind hearts do not suffer because they are weak. They suffer because they keep pouring love into people who are emotionally unconscious. And tonight, we are going to talk about the painful truth behind betrayal, why some people use your kindness against you, and how to protect your peace without losing the softness that makes you human. Some people only love the parts of you they can use. One of the most painful truths you learn in life is that not everyone who comes close to your heart truly loves you in a deep and honest way. Some people are not in love with your soul, your peace, your dreams, or your true self. They are only attached to the parts of you that make their own life easier, softer, or emotionally comfortable. They love the attention you give them when they feel lonely. They love your kindness when nobody else understands them. They love your patience when they make mistakes. They love your loyalty because they know you will stay even when things become difficult. They love the emotional safety you provide because your heart becomes a place where they can escape from their own pain. But the sad part is this: while they enjoy receiving love from you, they are not emotionally mature enough to protect your heart in return. And this becomes very confusing because these people rarely look harmful in the beginning. In fact, they often look deeply caring at first. They know how to say beautiful things. They know how to make you feel special. They know how to create emotional closeness very quickly. Sometimes they make you feel more understood than anyone else ever has. They ask about your pain. They listen to your struggles. They speak gently to your heart. And because you are a genuine person, you naturally believe their feelings are real. You begin trusting them deeply. You slowly remove your emotional walls. You start sharing parts of yourself you normally keep hidden from the world. Your fears, your memories, your insecurities, your soft side. The part of you that only appears when you truly feel safe. But slowly over time, something begins to change. The relationship starts feeling heavier. You begin noticing that the connection only feels peaceful when you continue giving more and more of yourself. You become the one constantly trying to understand them, even when they stop understanding you. You become the one always forgiving hurtful behavior while your own pain gets ignored. You become the one fixing every emotional problem while they continue acting carelessly with your feelings. And because your heart is sincere, you keep hoping things will improve. You tell yourself they are just stressed. You tell yourself they are going through something difficult. You tell yourself they still care deep down, but deep inside, your spirit slowly becomes tired. You begin feeling emotionally drained after conversations with them. You begin overthinking small changes in their behavior. You begin feeling anxious instead of peaceful. And the saddest part is that many kind people blame themselves during this stage. They start wondering if they are asking for too much, feeling too much, or expecting too much. But wanting respect, honesty, and emotional safety is not asking for too much. Buddhism teaches that attachment can make people ignore reality. When we become emotionally attached to someone, we sometimes stop seeing who they truly are. We become attached to memories, attached to hope, attached to potential. We continue loving the version of the person we met in the beginning, even after their actions clearly change. This is why so many people stay in relationships that quietly destroy their peace. They keep waiting for the loving version of that person to return. They keep replaying old memories in their mind. They keep holding on to moments that once felt beautiful, while ignoring the emotional pain happening in the present, and slowly they begin abandoning themselves just to keep the connection alive. That is why betrayal hurts so deeply for genuine people, because genuine people love with their whole heart. They do not pretend, they do not calculate every emotion. They care honestly, and because their love is real, they naturally assume the other person's love is real too. But some people are not connected to love in a pure way. Some people only connect to what they can receive. They become attached to your energy, your support, your attention, your loyalty, and your emotional availability. And the moment you stop endlessly giving these things, their behavior changes. Suddenly they become distant, cold, irritated, uninterested. Sometimes they even make you feel guilty for changing, when in reality you are simply exhausted from carrying the entire relationship alone. And this is the painful truth many people eventually discover. Some people never truly loved your heart. They loved the comfort of having access to it. Real love is different. Real love does not only receive from you. Real love also protects you. Real love cares about your emotional peace. Real love notices when you are hurting. Real love does not repeatedly wound your spirit while expecting unlimited patience in return. A person who truly loves you will not constantly leave you emotionally confused. They will not make you feel lonely inside the relationship. They will not only value you when you are useful to them. Because genuine love is not just about receiving warmth from someone's heart, it is also about protecting that heart carefully. And one of the deepest forms of wisdom is finally learning this. You should never have to destroy your inner peace just to keep someone close to you. Your kindness became a place they stopped respecting. One of the saddest things that can happen to a kind person is this: the more love they give, the less they are valued. At the beginning, people appreciate your kindness. They thank you for being patient. They admire how understanding you are. They tell you that your heart is rare. They make you feel like your love means everything to them. But slowly something dangerous begins to happen. What was once appreciated starts becoming expected. Your patience becomes normal to them. Your forgiveness becomes automatic to them. Your emotional support becomes something they assume will always be there no matter how they treat you. And without realizing it, your kindness slowly becomes a place where they feel comfortable behaving carelessly. This is why many gentle people suffer silently for a very long time, because they believe loving someone deeply means continuously understanding them, continuously forgiving them, and continuously giving them more chances. So when someone hurts them, they stay calm instead of speaking honestly about the pain. When someone disrespects them, they try to explain the behavior instead of protecting themselves from it. When someone disappoints them again and again, they continue hoping the person will finally change one day. Because deep inside, kind people do not want to give up on others easily. They see broken people and want to help them heal. They see emotionally distant people and try to love them harder. They see unhealthy behavior and try to be more patient with it. But many people never heal from endless patience. They simply become more comfortable hurting you. That is the painful truth many people eventually discover too late. Some people stop respecting your heart the moment they realize you will stay no matter what they do. And this does not happen in one single moment. It happens slowly and quietly over time. At first they apologize after hurting you. Then they repeat the behavior again. Then the apologies become smaller. Then eventually they stop feeling guilty at all. Meanwhile, you continue carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. You become the one fixing every argument. You become the one trying to communicate peacefully. You become the one staying awake at night, overthinking everything while they sleep peacefully after hurting you. And because your heart is soft, you keep telling yourself things like, they are probably stressed. They did not mean it. They are struggling emotionally. They still care deep down. But while you are busy understanding their pain, nobody is protecting yours. This is how many kind people slowly lose themselves. not all at once, but little by little. They stop expressing what hurts them because they fear conflict. They stop setting boundaries because they fear losing the connection. They stop listening to their intuition because they desperately want the relationship to work. And eventually they become emotionally exhausted. Buddhism teaches something very powerful here. Compassion without awareness becomes self-destruction. This means kindness is beautiful, but kindness without boundaries can slowly destroy your peace. Loving people should never require abandoning yourself completely. Supporting someone should never mean carrying pain every single day while pretending everything is okay. Many people confuse suffering with love. They believe that staying, no matter how badly they are treated, proves loyalty. They believe sacrificing their emotional peace proves devotion. But Buddhism teaches that attachment often keeps people trapped inside unhealthy emotional cycles. When you become deeply attached to someone, you begin tolerating things your spirit naturally knows are wrong. You silence your inner voice because your fear of losing them becomes stronger than your desire for peace. And this is where many betrayals become dangerous, because the person hurting you slowly learns something about you. They learn that your kindness has no limit, and once someone believes there are no consequences for hurting you, your value slowly decreases in their eyes. Not because you are worthless, but because humans often stop respecting what they think will never leave. That is why some people only realize your value after your energy disappears from their life completely. After you stop answering, after you stop chasing, after you stop trying to fix everything alone, after your warmth is no longer available whenever they want it, suddenly they feel the silence your kindness once filled. But by then, your heart is already tired. One of the deepest lessons in Buddhism is learning that peace matters too. Your emotions matter too. Your mental health matters too. Your soul matters too. You were not born just to endlessly carry other people's emotional pain while ignoring your own wounds. You were not created to become a safe place for people who repeatedly bring chaos into your spirit. Real love should not constantly drain your energy. Real love should not make you feel emotionally unsafe. Real love should not leave you feeling lonely while sitting beside someone who claims to care about you. A healthy connection allows your nervous system to rest. A healthy connection makes your spirit feel calm instead of confused. A healthy connection values your heart instead of simply using its softness. And one day, healing begins when you finally understand this truth. Being kind does not mean allowing people unlimited access to hurt you. You can love deeply and still walk away. You can forgive someone and still protect your peace. You can care about someone and still choose yourself, because protecting your heart is not selfish. Sometimes it is the most necessary form of self-respect. Betrayal always begins long before the final hurt. Most betrayals do not happen suddenly. The final moment is usually not the beginning of the pain. It is only the moment your heart can no longer ignore what has been happening for a very long time. The truth is, betrayal usually starts quietly. It starts in small moments that seem harmless in the beginning. Small lies, small disrespect, small moments where your feelings are dismissed, small changes in the way someone speaks to you, values you, or treats your emotions. But because the changes happen slowly, many people do not notice how deeply the relationship is damaging them until much later. This is especially true for kind-hearted people. When you genuinely love someone, you naturally want to see the best in them. You want to believe their intentions are pure. You want to believe the connection is real. So even when your spirit feels uncomfortable, your heart keeps trying to protect the relationship. You explain away the warning signs. You tell yourself they are just stressed. You tell yourself they are emotionally confused. You tell yourself every relationship goes through difficult moments. You convince yourself things will return to how they once were. But deep inside, something already feels different. Maybe you begin noticing they no longer speak to you with the same care. Maybe their effort slowly disappears while yours keeps increasing. Maybe they become colder, more distant, more secretive, or emotionally unavailable. And even though your heart notices these changes, your attachment keeps trying to hold on to old memories. This is one of the deepest reasons people suffer emotionally. They fall in love with who someone used to be, while ignoring who they are becoming. Buddhism teaches that suffering increases when we resist reality, and many people resist reality because truth feels painful at first. Accepting that someone is changing can feel terrifying. Accepting that someone may no longer value your heart the same way can feel devastating. So instead of facing the truth, people often stay trapped in hope. They keep replaying beautiful memories in their mind. They keep remembering how deeply loved they once felt. They keep waiting for the old version of the person to return. Meanwhile, their peace slowly disappears. One of the saddest things about betrayal is that your soul often feels it long before your mind accepts it. Your body notices the emotional distance. Your nervous system notices the inconsistency. Your spirit notices the lack of safety. That is why many people begin feeling anxious inside unhealthy relationships. They constantly overthink messages. They feel nervous when the person suddenly changes behavior. They feel emotionally exhausted after conversations that once made them feel calm and loved. But because attachment is strong, they continue ignoring their intuition. Buddhism teaches that the mind becomes deeply confused when attachment controls awareness. When we become emotionally attached, we stop listening to our inner wisdom clearly. We begin prioritizing emotional survival over emotional truth. This is why people often stay in relationships where they secretly feel unseen, unheard, and emotionally unsafe, not because they are weak, but because the fear of losing someone becomes stronger than the desire to protect their own peace. And slowly, something painful begins happening inside them. They start shrinking themselves. They stop speaking honestly about what hurts them because they fear pushing the person away. They stop expressing disappointment because they fear conflict. They begin accepting emotional behavior that once would have deeply disturbed their spirit. This is how betrayal slowly grows, not in one giant moment, but through repeated moments where your heart keeps getting ignored while you continue staying loyal. And eventually the relationship reaches a point where the final betrayal happens. Maybe they lie to you. Maybe they emotionally abandon you. Maybe they betray your trust completely. Maybe they choose someone else while still pretending to care about you. And suddenly, everything becomes clear. All the small warning signs you ignored begin connecting together. All the uncomfortable feelings you pushed aside suddenly make sense. All the moments where your intuition quietly tried to protect you return to your mind at once. And that realization can break a person emotionally, because you begin understanding something painful. The betrayal did not begin the day they hurt you openly. It began the day they stopped caring about your feelings, while you continued loving them deeply. That is why many people feel emotionally destroyed after betrayal, not only because they lost someone, but because they realize how long they abandoned themselves trying to keep the relationship alive. And sometimes the deepest heartbreak is not losing the person. It is realizing how many times your soul begged you to walk away, but your attachment kept convincing you to stay. Buddhism teaches that awareness is the beginning of freedom. The moment you become fully honest about what a relationship is doing to your spirit, healing quietly begins. The moment you stop romanticizing pain, your mind slowly becomes clearer. The moment you stop forcing yourself to ignore your intuition, your inner peace starts returning little by little, because your soul was never created to live in constant emotional confusion. Real love does not constantly make you question your worth. Real love does not repeatedly damage your peace. Real love does not leave you emotionally exhausted every single day. A healthy connection should not feel like a constant battle inside your chest. It should feel safe, calm, honest, emotionally stable. And one of the most powerful lessons you will ever learn in life is this: the earlier you stop ignoring small disrespect, the less suffering you will carry later, because betrayal rarely arrives without warning. Most of the time, your heart already knew long before your mind finally accepted it. Some people use love to control, not to care. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone looks for love because they want a deep emotional connection. Some people look for love because they want attention, validation, comfort, or control over someone's heart. And this can be very painful to realize, because in the beginning, These people often make you feel deeply special. They give you constant attention. They message you all the time. They make you feel important in their life. They say things that touch your emotions deeply. They create intense emotional closeness very quickly. And because your heart is genuine, you believe the connection is real. You begin trusting them. You begin emotionally attaching to them. You begin imagining a future with them. Your heart slowly opens wider and wider because you think you are safe. But slowly, the relationship begins changing in a way that is difficult to explain. At first, they made you feel calm. Now they make you feel anxious. At first, they made you feel secure. Now you constantly overthink their behavior. At first, their love felt warm and natural. Now it feels confusing, unstable, and emotionally exhausting. This is because some people do not use love to build connection. They use love to gain emotional power. They enjoy being emotionally important to someone. They enjoy knowing someone is attached to them. They enjoy knowing they can affect your emotions whenever they want. And once they feel secure in your attachment, their behavior often changes completely. They stop putting in effort. They stop valuing your feelings carefully. They become emotionally inconsistent. Sometimes they even become cold after making you emotionally dependent on their attention. This creates deep confusion inside the other person because now you are constantly trying to return the relationship to how it felt in the beginning. You start chasing the version of them that first made you feel loved. And this is where emotional suffering becomes dangerous. Because instead of asking, why are they treating me this way? You begin asking, what do I need to do to make them love me like before? That question slowly destroys self-worth. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering when your inner peace becomes dependent on another person's behavior. And many people unknowingly lose themselves inside relationships because they become addicted to emotional highs and lows. When someone gives love inconsistently, the mind becomes trapped. One day they are warm. The next day they are distant. One moment they make you feel chosen. The next moment they make you feel invisible. And because the love becomes unpredictable, you begin craving their attention even more. You overthink every message. You analyze every small change in energy. You become emotionally restless trying to understand what happened. But healthy love should not constantly make your nervous system feel unsafe. Real love does not confuse your spirit every day. Real love does not make you feel emotionally starved while sitting beside someone who claims to care about you. Real love does not use silence, distance, guilt, or emotional withdrawal to gain control over your feelings. But many unconscious people do exactly this without even fully understanding the damage they are causing. Buddhism teaches that the ego always wants control. The ego wants attention. The ego wants importance. The ego wants validation. The ego wants to feel powerful inside relationships. And when someone is deeply controlled by ego, they often stop seeing love as something sacred. Instead, they begin seeing love as something they can use to feed their own emotional emptiness. That is why some people only act loving when they fear losing you. The moment they feel secure in your attachment, their effort disappears, and this creates a painful emotional cycle. They hurt you. You become distant. Suddenly they return with affection again. You feel hope again. Then the cycle repeats over and over. And because your heart remembers the beautiful moments, you keep believing things will finally change. But eventually your spirit becomes exhausted. You begin feeling emotionally drained all the time. You begin losing peace inside your own mind. You begin doubting your value because someone keeps treating your heart carelessly, and slowly, you stop recognizing yourself. This is why Buddhism speaks so deeply about awareness. Awareness allows you to see the truth behind emotional attachment. Awareness helps you recognize when love is becoming emotionally unhealthy. Awareness helps you understand that intense emotional connection is not always genuine love. Sometimes it is emotional dependency. Sometimes it is fear of abandonment. Sometimes it is ego needing validation. Sometimes it is someone enjoying access to your heart without truly respecting it. And one of the saddest things in life is watching kind people beg for consistency from people who only enjoy temporary emotional control. You should never have to earn basic respect from someone who truly cares about you. You should never have to constantly prove your worth to keep someone's attention. You should never have to live in fear of someone becoming cold every time you emotionally relax. Because real love does not make your soul feel trapped. Real love feels emotionally safe. Real love feels stable. Real love allows your mind to rest. Real love does not constantly punish your heart with confusion. And one day, healing begins when you finally stop chasing people who only loved the feeling of being important in your life. Because true love is not about control. True love is about care. It protects your peace. It values your emotions. It respects your spirit. It does not manipulate your heart just to feel powerful for a moment. And the moment you truly understand this, you stop confusing emotional intensity with real emotional depth. You stop chasing unstable love. You stop begging for consistency. You stop sacrificing your peace just to keep someone emotionally interested in you. And slowly your heart begins returning to itself again. Your soft heart was never the weakness. One of the most heartbreaking things betrayal does to a person is this: it makes them feel ashamed of their own kindness. After being hurt deeply, many people stop looking at the other person's behavior and start attacking themselves instead. They sit alone at night, replaying everything in their mind. I cared too much. I trusted too easily. I loved harder than I should have. I was too soft. I should have been colder. I should never have opened my heart. And slowly they begin treating their kindness like it was a mistake. But Buddhism teaches something very important. A pure heart is never the problem. The real problem is giving deep emotional access to people who do not know how to value something genuine. Your love was real. Your loyalty was real. Your intentions were real. You stayed because your heart believed in connection. You forgave because your heart wanted peace. You tried again because your heart hoped things could heal. There is nothing shameful about loving sincerely. In fact, in a world where many people pretend, manipulate, and emotionally use each other, having a genuine heart is rare. But painful experiences can make kind people slowly lose faith in themselves. After betrayal, many people become emotionally guarded. They stop trusting others. They stop expressing emotions openly. They stop showing softness because they become terrified of being hurt again. And sometimes they become cold, not because that is who they truly are, but because pain convinced them that softness is dangerous. This is one of the saddest transformations a human being can go through. A loving person slowly becoming emotionally numb because someone abused their kindness. Buddhism teaches that pain changes people in two different ways. Some people become bitter, other people become wiser, and there is a huge difference between the two. Bitterness closes the heart completely. Wisdom protects the heart, while still allowing love to exist. Healing does not mean becoming heartless. Healing means becoming aware. It means learning how to recognize unhealthy energy earlier. It means learning how to notice inconsistency instead of ignoring it. It means learning that boundaries are not cruelty. It means understanding that protecting your peace is not selfish. Many kind people were taught that love means endless sacrifice. They were taught that being a good person means always staying patient no matter how badly they are treated. So they continue tolerating disrespect while convincing themselves they are simply being understanding. But there is a difference between compassion and self-abandonment. Real compassion should never require destroying your own emotional health. You should not have to constantly cry in silence just to prove your love is real. You should not have to beg for honesty. You should not have to accept emotional confusion every day just to keep someone close to you. And one of the deepest lessons betrayal teaches is this: your heart deserves protection too. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy, your loyalty, your emotions, and your softness. Some people enter your life only to take from your heart without ever giving genuine care in return. And because your soul is naturally loving, You kept giving even when your spirit was becoming exhausted. You ignored your own pain. You ignored your intuition. You ignored the heaviness inside your chest because you kept hoping the relationship would finally become healthy again. But eventually your soul becomes tired of carrying love alone. This is the moment awakening quietly begins. You start realizing that being soft does not mean allowing endless disrespect. You start realizing that being kind does not mean accepting emotional pain forever. You start realizing that protecting your peace is not weakness. In fact, sometimes walking away is the strongest thing a loving person can do, because real strength is not constantly tolerating suffering. Real strength is finally choosing yourself after abandoning your own needs for far too long. Buddhism teaches that awareness brings freedom, and one of the most powerful forms of awareness is recognizing that your value never decreased simply because someone failed to appreciate you properly. A flower does not become worthless because someone stepped on it carelessly, and your heart does not lose its beauty because someone treated it without respect. Please understand this deeply. The way someone treated you says more about their level of awareness than your worth as a human being. Emotionally unhealthy people often damage good hearts because they do not even fully understand the value of what they are holding. Some people only recognize genuine love after they lose access to it, but your healing should never depend on whether they finally understand your value someday. Your healing begins when you finally understand it yourself. The moment you stop blaming your softness, the moment you stop apologizing for your kindness, the moment you stop seeing your loving heart as a weakness, something beautiful begins happening inside you. Your spirit slowly becomes lighter, because now you no longer hate yourself for caring deeply. Now you understand that your love was never the mistake. The mistake was forgetting that your heart deserved the same care you were constantly giving to everyone else. And one day you will love again. But this time, your kindness will have wisdom beside it. Your heart will remain soft, but your boundaries will become stronger. Your compassion will remain beautiful, but your awareness will become clearer. And that balance changes everything, because a kind heart with awareness becomes something truly powerful. It no longer chases people who drain its peace. It no longer begs for love from emotionally careless people. It no longer sacrifices itself just to avoid being abandoned. Instead, it learns to love while still protecting its own soul. And that is when your healing becomes real. Letting go of them is how you return to yourself. One of the most painful things a person can experience is realizing that someone they deeply love is also the person destroying their inner peace. Because when you truly love someone, you do not only become attached to the person, you become attached to the memories, the late-night conversations, the small moments, the feeling of closeness, the future you imagine together, the emotional comfort you once felt in their presence. And this is why letting go feels so difficult. You are not only grieving the person, you are grieving the version of life you believed would happen with them. That pain can feel unbearable sometimes, especially when your heart still remembers the beautiful moments, especially when part of you still hopes they will suddenly change, suddenly understand your pain, suddenly become the person you always needed them to be. But Buddhism teaches something deeply powerful. Attachment is often the reason suffering continues long after the relationship becomes unhealthy. Not because love is wrong, but because the mind keeps clinging to something that is no longer bringing peace to the soul. And many people stay emotionally trapped because they confuse attachment with love. They believe missing someone means they belong together. They believe emotional pain proves the connection is deep. They believe constantly suffering for someone is a sign of loyalty. But real love should not slowly destroy your spirit. Real love should not leave you emotionally exhausted every single day. Real love should not constantly make you cry in silence while pretending everything is okay. Sometimes the deepest form of self-love is accepting that someone can be important to your heart and still not be healthy for your life. That realization changes everything, because many people continue holding on to relationships that have already ended emotionally a long time ago. The connection may still exist physically, but the peace, safety, honesty, and emotional care are already gone. And still, they stay. Why? Because human beings become emotionally attached to familiarity. Even painful relationships can feel difficult to leave because the mind fears the unknown more than the suffering it has grown used to. This is why people often return to relationships that continue hurting them, not because the pain disappeared, but because the attachment remains stronger than their awareness. Buddhism teaches that awareness is what breaks emotional illusion. The moment you stop romanticizing the relationship, you begin seeing the truth clearly. The moment you stop focusing only on memories, you begin noticing the emotional damage your spirit has been carrying for a very long time. And sometimes that truth hurts deeply. You realize how often you cried silently. You realize how often you felt lonely beside someone who claimed to love you. You realize how much emotional energy you spent trying to save a connection while slowly losing yourself inside it. And one of the saddest parts is this: many people spend years trying to heal relationships while completely ignoring the wounds inside their own heart. They become so focused on saving the other person that they forget to save themselves. But eventually, your soul becomes tired of chasing clarity, tired of begging for consistency, tired of trying to explain your pain to someone who keeps choosing not to understand it. And little by little, your spirit begins awakening. You begin understanding that closure does not always come from another person finally apologizing or changing. Sometimes closure comes from finally accepting reality without trying to force it into something softer. This is one of the hardest lessons in life. Accepting people exactly as they are, instead of continuously hoping they will become different. Because some people will apologize but continue hurting you. Some people will promise change but repeat the same patterns again and again. Some people will return only because they miss your attention, your comfort, your loyalty, or your emotional support. But missing access to your love is not the same as valuing your heart. And eventually you reach a point where your inner peace becomes more important than your emotional attachment. This is where true healing begins. Not when the memories disappear, not when the pain magically leaves overnight, but when you finally stop betraying yourself just to keep someone else in your life. That moment is powerful, because now you stop chasing people who constantly disturb your peace. You stop over-explaining your worth. You stop begging for emotional honesty. You stop shrinking your needs just to avoid abandonment. And slowly, something beautiful begins happening inside you. You begin returning to yourself. You begin hearing your own thoughts clearly again. You begin sleeping more peacefully again. You begin feeling emotionally lighter again. You begin reconnecting with the version of yourself that existed before constant emotional stress entered your life. This is why letting go is not always a loss. Sometimes it is a rescue. Sometimes life removes people because your soul can no longer survive carrying the emotional weight of the connection. And yes, letting go hurts. There will be nights where you miss them deeply. There will be moments where memories suddenly return and break your heart all over again. There will be days where loneliness feels heavy. But Buddhism teaches that pain becomes lighter when attachment slowly loses control over the mind, and healing happens little by little. One peaceful morning at a time, one quiet realization at a time, one moment of self-respect at a time, until eventually, you notice something surprising. The relationship that once felt impossible to release no longer controls your emotions the same way. The person who once consumed your thoughts all day no longer owns your inner world. And for the first time in a very long time, you feel free, not because you stopped caring completely, but because you finally stopped sacrificing yourself for a connection that kept damaging your peace. And one of the most beautiful forms of growth is realizing this: you can love someone deeply and still choose to walk away from what hurts your soul. Because protecting your peace is not selfish. Sometimes it is the beginning of finally loving yourself properly. Your peace becomes untouchable when you finally wake up. There comes a moment in every healing journey where something inside you quietly changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. You become tired of suffering in the same emotional cycle, tired of overthinking people who keep hurting you, tired of carrying sadness inside your chest every single day, tired of begging for honesty, effort, love, or emotional consistency from people who continue giving you confusion instead of peace. And slowly, without even realizing it at first, you begin waking up. You begin seeing things differently. You begin understanding that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. You begin understanding that constantly chasing people destroys self-respect. You begin understanding that protecting your inner peace is more important than keeping unhealthy emotional attachments alive. This awakening changes everything, because before awareness, many people spend years abandoning themselves for others. They ignore their intuition. They ignore emotional exhaustion. They ignore the heaviness in their spirit. They continue sacrificing their peace just to avoid loneliness or rejection. But eventually the soul becomes too tired to continue living this way. And this is where transformation begins. Buddhism teaches that suffering becomes lighter when awareness becomes stronger than attachment. That means healing truly begins the moment you stop letting emotional attachment control your entire inner world. At first, this feels difficult because your mind still remembers the person. Your heart still remembers the memories. Part of you still misses the emotional connection. But now something is different. Now awareness is growing. Now you begin recognizing how much pain the relationship actually caused you. You begin noticing how often your peace disappeared while trying to keep someone else comfortable. You begin understanding that love should never require losing yourself completely. And little by little, your mind becomes clearer. You stop romanticizing the pain. You stop chasing closure from people who keep reopening your wounds. You stop trying to convince emotionally unavailable people to suddenly care deeply about your feelings. And this creates a new kind of freedom inside you, a quiet freedom, the kind of freedom where your happiness no longer depends on whether someone texts you back. The kind of freedom where your self-worth no longer changes based on another person's attention. The kind of freedom where you stop begging for love because you finally realize your value does not decrease when someone fails to recognize it. This is one of the most powerful awakenings a human being can experience, because many people spend their entire lives emotionally imprisoned by other people's opinions, validation, and behavior. They let rejection define their worth. They let betrayal define their identity. They let heartbreak convince them they are difficult to love. But Buddhism teaches that peace begins when you stop attaching your identity to temporary emotional experiences. You are not broken because someone betrayed you. You are not unworthy because someone failed to value your heart. You are not difficult to love because someone emotionally damaged you. Sometimes people hurt you simply because they are deeply disconnected from themselves. And once you fully understand this, something heavy begins leaving your heart. You stop carrying their actions like proof of your inadequacy. You stop blaming yourself for their emotional immaturity. You stop feeling responsible for fixing people who continuously damage your spirit. Instead, you begin returning your energy back to yourself. You start spending more time protecting your mind. You begin choosing peaceful environments. You begin valuing calmness over emotional chaos. You begin loving yourself enough to walk away from people who repeatedly disturb your inner balance. And slowly, your peace becomes stronger than your attachment. This is where true healing begins. Not when you stop remembering the pain completely, not when the memories magically disappear, but when the pain no longer controls your life. When someone who once had the power to ruin your entire day no longer controls your emotions. When silence no longer scares you. When loneliness no longer feels worse than emotional suffering. When your mind finally becomes a safe place for your own soul again. That is real healing. And one of the most beautiful things about awakening is this: you stop needing revenge. At the beginning, pain often makes people want answers. They want the other person to suffer the same way they suffered. They want apologies. They want regret. They want validation that their pain mattered. But eventually, awareness changes your perspective completely. You realize that carrying hatred only keeps the wound alive inside you. You realize that bitterness chains your spirit to the very people who hurt you. You realize that true freedom comes from emotionally releasing what no longer deserves space inside your heart. Buddhism teaches that peace is not created by controlling others. Peace is created by mastering your own inner world. And once your inner world becomes peaceful, people lose the ability to emotionally control you so easily. That is why your greatest power is not becoming colder after betrayal. Your greatest power is becoming wiser without losing your ability to love. It is protecting your peace without becoming emotionally cruel. It is creating boundaries without becoming bitter. It is learning from pain without allowing pain to harden your soul completely. Because the world does not need more emotionally numb people. The world needs people who remain kind while also becoming aware. And maybe that is what this entire painful journey was trying to teach you from the beginning. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not everyone deserves your softness. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your heart. But you should never stop being someone capable of real love. Just become more conscious of who receives it. Because once you truly wake up, once you finally understand your own worth, once your peace becomes more important than unhealthy attachment, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing people who drain your spirit. You stop fighting for connections that constantly damage your soul. You stop begging to be loved correctly, and instead, you become deeply connected to yourself, calm, aware, peaceful, emotionally free. And in that state, your peace becomes untouchable, because now your happiness no longer lives inside someone else's hands. It finally lives within you. And maybe that is the real lesson behind every betrayal you survived. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people arrive to teach you the painful cost of ignoring your own worth. Some people arrive to awaken your awareness. And some people leave so you can finally return to yourself again. So if your heart feels tired right now, if you are still healing from someone who used your kindness against you, please remember this gently. You are not hard to love. You simply gave your heart to someone who did not know how to hold it carefully. But one painful chapter does not define your entire life. Your peace can return. Your heart can heal. And one day, you will no longer carry this sadness the same way you do now. One day you will look back and realize that losing people who constantly disturbed your spirit was not the end of your happiness. It was the beginning of your awakening. And if this message found you at the right moment, let it stay in your heart tonight. Take a deep breath, release what no longer deserves your peace, and slowly begin choosing yourself again. If this video touched something inside you, write "I choose peace" in the comments. And if you want more deep Buddhist wisdom about healing, attachment, inner peace, and emotional freedom, subscribe to the Inner Buddha Code and continue this journey with us. Until next time, protect your peace gently and never forget how valuable your heart truly is.